students. So yeah, so
Yes,
what was this? Yeah. Mhm.
yes. Because each student or each client had a specific need. Because it's
Yeah.
not for me. It wasn't a one size fits all model. So based
Hmm.
on the person's needs, sometimes part of the issue is they don't have codes for interviews, but then at the same time, they might not know how to speak English that well, or they might need a resume. So I would give
Hmm.
them, I would develop a plan for them, and I would work with their case manager. So I would help them in getting the things that they needed, whether it was clothing, housing, Metro card, as well as collaborating with my colleagues to ensure that they got their resumes and cover
Hmm.
letters and their interview skills scheduled so that they could be able to start preparing to go back to work.
Yeah.
And
Okay. Okay.
there was
Great.
yeah, there were some people who didn't have a high school education. So
Uh,
part of my part of the individual development plan was to get them enrolled in classes where they could get their equivalency diploma.
mhm. Okay. Okay. Great. And so, do you have any stats in place, like to know that if how much of these people were actually like how many did actually land jobs after that?
Um, well, I could estimate it to about 60% of the staff. I mean,
Great.
60% of the clients landed jobs.
Mm-hmm.
The remainder, some of them had major health issues, as well as
Mm-hmm.
some of them were recovering addicts. So that was more of a
Okay.
challenge for them. So, but I
Yeah.
would say approximately 60% of them landed jobs.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Even that's a great number because there are things that are outside your domain and you can't actually do anything about it.
Hmm.
And yeah, I think some health of people is something that we can't do really do something about it. So yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. And so then you help with provided resume enhancement and job search training. Okay.
Yeah, and I also conducted
Mm-hmm.
mock interviews as well.
Uh-huh.
So
Okay, perfect.
we would have volunteers from different organizations come in, and I would work with them so
Mm-hmm.
that they would be partnered with a client um, to help with getting their resumes done as well.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Because we had more clients than we had instructors. So I would
Yeah.
have on an average day, I would be working with about 30 to 50 persons on an average day.
Uh-huh. Okay.
So when the volunteers come in twice a week, I'd have anywhere between maybe 7 to 12 volunteers who would
Mm-hmm.
work with a person apiece, and that would help tremendously in terms of getting something produced.
Yeah.
And even if they didn't complete the resume, at least they had something started. So my colleagues and I would be able to go in and say, okay, at least we have a resume that needs to be enhanced as opposed to not having anything at all.
Yeah. Okay. Okay, perfect. And trained interns on appropriate strategies to successfully execute the We Care program policies and procedures. So you were training interns there as well?
Yeah. Um, yeah, part of
Mm-hmm.
it was that my boss was the coordinator of the work readiness instruction
Mm-hmm.
department, and she hired interns from schools that were working in human services. So
Mm-hmm.
while the interns were there, I was training them on how to use the systems that we have, and part of it is that um, we receive funding from the city and the state, so we have to
Mm-hmm.
maintain a certain level of compliance. And in doing so, we have to ensure that anything that we input is HRA compliance because that
Mm-hmm.
affects funding. And if we don't put things in accurately, it can also affect how that client receives their stipend. So
Mm-hmm.
I had to show them how to do different things based on different situations, as well as if there's something that they needed to do with the case management team. who to contact and what the procedures are and different things like that. Because we didn't have like a written policy, but because I
Mm-hmm.
have more tenure than them, I knew what the rules were.
Okay. Okay. Great.
Yeah.
And then you also collaborated with the coordinator of work readiness instruction. Okay. Implement objectives and plans for program success. So, any particular plan that you implemented that they weren't utilizing earlier, but you suggested that this could be a value addition for the program?
Actually, yes. I mentioned actually I mentioned the computer training to her, and
Uh-huh.
she saw that as a great idea. So then I didn't mention it on here, but then I started teaching basic computer skills. So I was teaching
Okay.
clients how to use Word, Excel, not
Uh-huh.
and maybe and sometimes PowerPoint, but the very basic portions of it
Okay.
because a lot of them didn't have that skill. And
Yeah,
it was like the basic requirement for a lot of jobs. So that was
exactly.
something that was something that I worked with her on to implement. And then because I spoke Spanish, um,
Yeah.
she saw some of the lessons that I had and she approved the lessons that I was giving, and I would share some of my lessons with my other colleagues in terms of um, using different words and vocabulary and things like that that were relevant to interviewing as well as to the business world in general.
Okay. Okay. And so then anything else then from this role of yours, anything else you introduced or, any new strategy you utilized to improve the effectiveness of the training program?
I'm trying to remember because it seems so long ago.
Yeah.
Um, let me can I just bear with me? I think I have an older version of my resume that I haven't
Okay.
looked at in ages. Let me see if there's anything on that
Uh-huh.
which I may have forgotten.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm just trying to browse it. I completely forgot about the older version because I couldn't send it to you when I needed to. So let me see.
Okay. No problem. Yeah.
Weird, I can't find it.
Mm-hmm.
I moved around a few things on my computer the other day, and it's like everything looks differently.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, because I had so many different versions of my resume,
Uh-huh.
and I know I changed some information, and I'm trying to look at it to see. Are you in California?
Yeah, we're based in Corona.
Oh, okay.
Mhm.
The job search. I have one from 2017. Let me see what I have here. Well, part of what I also did is
Mm-hmm.
that I worked with the job developers.
Okay.
So I helped them in creating additional employment opportunities for the program participants.
Uh-huh. So, how did you enable that? Like, what actually collaborated with that job facilitator on that helped with this?
Yeah, there were job developers. There were people there who their responsibility was to reach out to employers and
Mm-hmm.
find opportunities and then try to match the clients with some of these opportunities. So based on
Mm-hmm.
my interaction with the clients, I would make recommendations as to who would be an ideal candidate for a position and schedule and help
Mm-hmm.
them schedule the interview. What I also did is whenever I went to certain places like businesses and I knew they were hiring, I would speak to the
Mm-hmm.
manager. And in one instance, I went to Godiva and the
Uh-huh.
manager at that location actually went. to our office and gave a presentation to the job developers about opportunities that they had at their location, and I believe two persons may have been hired as a result of that.
Okay, that's amazing.
Thank you. Yeah, I
So,
had to look at my
so
old resume because I forgot.
okay, okay. So was that your idea that you people should hire or so collaborate with some job developers?
Hmm.
So was that your idea?
Yeah, I just took the initiative, and
Okay,
I told my manager about it, and she was fine. And then the job developers worked with the manager from Godiva, and things went well after that.
okay, amazing. So do you remember in which year you started this position in 2014? Or sorry, which month?
It was June.
Okay, and then ended in 2015 June.
No, it ended in I believe it was in April because
Okay,
we were all laid off.
okay, uh-huh.
So here's the thing. When I was laid off in 2015, I worked with the organization that took over from FEGS. They're known as FedCap, but I only worked with them for 21 days.
Okay, uh-huh.
But I was doing the same thing.
Okay, okay.
So that's why I didn't list it. I just left it as years from 2014 to 2015.
Yeah, I think it makes sense because since that position was only for 21 days with the new company and it included similar responsibilities. So yeah, I think it would create some confusion if we try to incorporate that.
Yeah.
Hmm. Okay. So one thing you haven't discussed in your resume, but it's on your LinkedIn profile, is your career advisor and job readiness coach position, and that was the one I was confusing you with, with being self-employed. So yeah, so why haven't you mentioned it on the resume? Any particular reason for that?
It was just self-employment. It was just something that I was doing, and I felt like a lot of it had to do with what I did as a work readiness instructor. So I didn't want to
Okay.
be redundant, but
Mm-hmm.
if there's a way to incorporate it with
Mm-hmm.
and not have duplicated information, then I would add it.
Okay, because I
But
think
it
we
was just
should add
yeah.
it because
Mhm.
there were 50 week-year program participants, so that's a different number. But then we can show that apart from those, there were 25 plus career changers and job seekers from other industries out there, like regular job seekers, basically that you help. And so yeah, I think that that's a different sort of I would say experience that you had as a career
Mm,
advisor.
okay. Yeah, yeah, I can add. Yeah, you can add it.
Okay. And so let's just discuss this one a bit more. Like, since you were the career advisor and you were self-employed, so how were you reaching out to people to know that okay, these are career changers or job seekers that need help?
A lot of them were mostly through friends. Um,
Okay.
like it was more so by word of mouth,
Mm-hmm.
and also because my referrals from my colleagues at FEG. Well, because
Okay.
like for example, I had one colleague and she had a friend in the United States and
Mm-hmm.
he was a a coach who wanted to become a teacher.
Mm-hmm.
So I had to revamp his resume where I was showing that he had transferable skills because he
Yeah.
wanted to go from coaching to becoming a full-fledged educator. So
Yeah.
that was a referral, and I revamped his resume so that he could apply for a teaching position in his state. I believe he was in Georgia or somewhere. And then
Uh-huh.
I also went to a workshop, and after I guess providing my feedback, people connected with me and they were like, "Oh, can you do my resume?" and different things like that. So after
Mm-hmm.
I did it for them, they were very happy with the outcome and referred me to
Uh-huh.
other people. So it was pretty much that sort of thing.
Okay. And so, do you remember that? which sort of industries were these candidates from that you helped them? Because I think that could be valuable to add on the resume.
It was very diverse.
Yeah.
It was hospitality, healthcare,
Uh-huh.
education,
Mm-hmm.
retail.
Nice.
Um, I'm trying to think what else.
Mhm.
Administrative. It
Okay.
it it was very broad. It wasn't like any like specific industry in. And I also did a workshop at a school. So I also
Mhm.
facilitated a workshop where I dealt with students because I networked with someone on LinkedIn and he asked me if I could come in and do a workshop and I did it for them pro bono.
Mhm.
So there were students who were looking to go into the healthcare field and they wanted me to do like a basic resume for them.
Okay. Okay. Great. So part of the reason that I think adding that diverse um, experience of dealing with people from diverse backgrounds and helping them with job search, I think it will be helpful because I saw that for the resume distribution part you had really diverse industries that you are trying to target. So I think by adding that you actually have experience in helping people from different diverse backgrounds, so I think that could be helpful for that as well.
Okay, yeah, I see your point. That's a great idea.
Okay, perfect. And so then, anything else, anything different that you did for this career advisor role? Any strategy you adopted, or anything else that you did?
I'm trying to think. I mean, other
Mm-hmm.
than I facilitated a workshop at the New York Career Institute,
Mm-hmm.
there isn't really, I think there really isn't that much because a lot of it is similar to what I did as a work readiness instructor. Meaning, like, I would tell people what their goals should be. I did a little bit of goal setting for people, like
Okay.
um, if they're trying to work on a certain skill that they're lacking in. Like, I made recommendations for them, like what sites to go on, where they can get training and different things like that. So it was a
Uh-huh.
little bit of goal setting, I guess, in that
Yeah.
capacity.
Okay. Okay. Great. And so, apart from workshops, so any training you conducted for these people, like just a one-on-one training to assist them with anything, yeah, any strategy, or I think it was more likely to be a one-on-one training because you were helping people with their different issues like with resumes and everything. So were you conducting any mock interviews with them as well to help them?
Um, I did a couple. I did a couple mock
Okay.
interviews.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because like one of my clients has anxiety when it comes to public speaking and
Mm-hmm.
interviewing. So
Mm-hmm.
I had to prep her for an interview and teach her like how to breathe and pause and think and that sort of thing because she would freeze up, she would have anxiety attacks. And
Oh,
if you're trying to get her hired, the majority of the times you have to go through an interview.
yeah. Okay, makes sense. And so
So
in
I
which yeah. Mhm.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just asking about the months again, so anything you were mentioning?
Let me see the month. It was, let me see, probably from March to June of 20 March 2015 to June 2016.
Okay, perfect.
Let me double check because I could be off with the ends. No, it was until October because I did the career institute in September. Actually, no, I'm right. It's June 2016. Sorry.
Okay, perfect. So then anything else from this role that you think we haven't discussed or something that could be worth mentioning for the resume?
Not that I can really think of.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And other than like just basic skills training and online business, like what to wear to the interview, that sort of thing. But most people that I dealt with already knew those things. They just majority of them wanted their resumes to be enhanced to reflect the changes that they were trying to make in their careers. Like someone else was working in retail and they wanted to move to office management position.
Okay.
So it was more so telling them about their transferable skills.
Okay. Okay, perfect. And so shall we move on to the next position then?
Yeah,
Okay, and then you were the consultant at Delion Design. So yeah,
hmm
so what was that role all about?
it was basically a friend and I, we created a company where we were both in college. I started my um well I was well he was actually in college and I was getting ready to do my PhD in
Mm-hmm.
2013. So he was in Oklahoma and I was in New York, and we did a lot of we worked together previously, and we decided that we wanted to do something where